Through my life and work, I've learned one thing. Ukraine's strength isn't just in resilience, it's in people who dream, build, and redefine what's possible. My name is Margaryta Rayets. I'm an advocate for Ukraine's global leadership. This is About and Back, my YouTube show where I speak with those shaping Ukraine's future. About we rise, back we remember. About and Back, the voice for Ukraine's transformation. If you are here for the first time, welcome. If you like what you hear, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button. It really means a lot and helps me keep these conversations going. Hi and welcome. This is About and Back with Margaryta Rayets. And today you are here with me at the very beginning of this journey. This show is about real leadership, real change, and the people who are not just living history, but making it. I'm incredibly happy to start with someone who truly understands what leadership under pressure looks like, Oleksandr Sudarkin. He is an expert and director of MBA and leadership programs at MIM Business School in Kyiv. Oleksandr, it's an honor to have you here today. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, my name is Oleksandr Sudarkin. I'm a professor at MIM Kyiv Business School. I'm an MBA program director. I also have an honor to lead MBA pre-MBA leadership program. So yeah, you're right. I love leadership. I study leadership, and I hope to be able to do some leadership.
Today we're talking about leadership. Real leadership shaped by crisis and change. Leadership is everywhere these days, in business, in politics, even in the everyday choices we make at home. But talking about leadership during normal times, if such times still exist, of course, it's very different from exploring it when the world is falling apart. For me personally, leadership has always been a search. Something I admire, something I sometimes doubt, something I keep coming back to. That's why I'm super excited to start this series by talking about leadership, not the kind we imagine, but the kind we live through. And I like to start with a very personal question. How has your own view of leadership evolved since February 24, 2022?
Talking about your question, before February 2022, leadership for me was mostly academic. I learned it, I explored it. I was trying to look at people who were talking big words, who were looking important, who were so, influential. And I would say, well, probably their influence is leadership, their self-determination is leadership. When the crisis struck, and yeah, I understand that we had the pandemic before, that was a challenge, but that was a challenge where you didn't have much choice, like you couldn't run away because of the nature of pandemic. During the war times, what I saw is that thinking that you're a leader and being a leader is really different, because you have to actually do what you were talking about. And a lot of people said, okay, maybe I'm not such a leader, and just disappeared. They still talk about leadership from somewhere. And I have a deep respect to people who are not talking, but doing, leading people, making decisions, taking responsibility. And probably that's what leadership is to me, especially during crisis times.
Yeah, very good point. Do you think, Alexander, that we are where we are now in geopolitical context due to the lack of leadership in the past?
That's a very good question. I wouldn't say that Ukraine lacked leadership. We are a young democracy. I understand that we have it and then it leaves us, and then we have it and then it leaves us. We have a lot of leadership in our country. What we lacked probably is strong and united understanding of what we are. So if you say that leadership is generating senses country-wise, then, well, only from that sense we are where we are because we didn't have this, or we didn't have the necessary level of this uniting leadership. We saw it during the last elections that the view of the country was like really torn apart. And just because of the war, we became Ukraine centric. We became a country where those who say we are leaders have a really a simple choice. If you want to be a leader in this country, you have to be here. Your kids have to be here. You have to connect your future to Ukraine, at least maybe to the rest of the world, but first of all to Ukraine. If not, it's really hard for me to call these people leaders anymore.
Considering what you just have said, what are the deeper layers of leadership? It's just this very sophisticated word and connotation under this. What are the layers, and how would you maybe describe the modern leadership in just 3 words?
What are the layers? Leadership and people who are taking higher positions historically, these are people who can put all in. And that's why people look at them, because they really know that you put yourself in a position where you risk everything for your sense, for your idea. And if you cannot stand for your idea, then you disappear. Whereas a non-leader, if you can say that there are non-leaders, this is a person who can just live his or her life, do whatever. And if you talk to them about what is the sense of your life, they say, well, live, enjoy, have fun. And what do you stand for? Well, be happy and, nothing and something like that. So, but we don't really call these people leaders. Even those who talk about purification and, zero senses, they lead people by transmitting their ideas. So levels of leadership are, you should have an idea. You should have your followers that like your idea and that are ready to do something because of you and because of your ideas. And well, there could be some other layers like communication. I think that's an intrinsic part of any leadership, because you need to communicate your idea to other people. These are resources where you have them with you if you're a rich person or if you're a big company, or you can attract them like what Ukraine does as of right now, because we don't have as many resources as we need to even fight the war, not saying to win the war. So all of this is leadership: idea, followers, communication, and resources. Probably I would put it like this.
Very good point. Let's talk about identity and values in terms of Ukrainian leadership. Was there ever a uniquely Ukrainian school or any model of leadership, or you think we are building it right now in real time? And still, is it unique, or we are just borrowing from our Western neighbors?
We definitely learn, absolutely. Academically, Ukraine in social sciences was, well, not never, but never recently, anything prominent. Our philosophers were prominent in the medieval ages, like 17th and 18th century. So the one of those models that we can say belongs to Ukraine, but not only, is the servant leadership, where it is a famous model, of course, but we can say that we here do not command and demand, but more we empower and create a situation where your people can actually do something. And to me, that's very Ukrainian. If we're talking about our school of leadership, what we see right now, and me and my colleagues probably have to describe it and study it more and prove it, is a net-centric leadership. We historically, again, do not really tend to hierarchical models. Like if remembering Ukrainian history, if somebody is above us, then we stand against him or her. Well, traditionally that was like this. So, but if this is a primus inter pares, so like the Cossacks did, the person who was nominated to be a leader, not someone who came to lead, then we say, okay, you may take some responsibility off our shoulders. You may tell us what to do to the level we let you. We saw this during the Maidan times. You remember the three guys who were nominated by the Maidan people to represent them. Is it Ukrainian? Well, probably no, because it goes back to the ancient Greeks and democracy and stuff. But uh, is it truly here? Yeah, absolutely. And we see it during the military times in military units. Yeah, I understand traditional military units should not work like that. But the nature of Russo-Ukrainian war is such that people who were civilians yesterday were drafted or signed a contract, and they became leaders in their units, going to the top because people want them, not because they decided to build a military career. And what also is important is that, and I hear it very often, these people say, come to learn from us because of how we do the war. We will teach you, we will learn from you. And it doesn't go all the way up to the general staff, it is very horizontal. So, this networking or net centric leadership probably is what Ukraine does really, really good.
Yeah, and by the way, talking about specific names and persons, if you had to name three, maybe more, Ukrainians who, in your opinion, have changed the world, maybe now or in the past, who would they be and why?
Mm-hmm. All right. Um, just a pre-clause. Leader is not ideal. Normally, when we read books about people who are or were leaders, the general idea is that this is a flawless person. It is just a role model. Be like him or her, and everybody will like you. No, if you want everybody to like you, just go sell ice cream. Nobody will like you, especially if you're a leader. So I have some names in my mind, and probably, especially if we're watched by our fellow compatriots, they will say him or her, like, really? Don't you know? And there will be a bunch of things about this person that are factual and that I don't make him or her idealistic. So, yeah, I know that. Anyway, probably uh, I need to give respect to our current president, Mr. Zelensky. He, I don't think he wanted this type of leadership. I don't think that he was a perfect guy for this position. He has a lot of drawbacks, like a bunch of drawbacks. He's still there. And as a person from the field of professional communication, what I sincerely respect is that his daily addresses to Ukrainians. That's an incredible job. That's an enormous job. The second thing I am really interested in what he does is in the field of negotiations, it's really difficult to run negotiations from a so-called weak position when you don't have cards, right? We don't have cards, and still we run, and still we do negotiations, and still we're keeping up our pace. We're winning. We're standing strong. That's incredibly difficult. So doing that, yeah, Mr. Zelensky, probably number one for obvious reasons. Um, Probably you said three or more. So number two, I would say a name who I wanted to say number four is the guy who was before him in the previous position, Mr. Poroshenko. Not for what he did, but he was joining the country, but for what he did when he was leaving. He left, even though he could have become an autocrat easily. He didn't. He decided to stick to democratic values, and I think that makes him a leader. Number three is because I'm from an academic world, and Memkiv was founded by a very interesting person. He was leading, he was chairing a leading Swiss school, business school, IMI at that time, International Management Institute, Mr. Bogdan Havrilishin, Professor Bogdan Havrilishin.
Sure.
Of course, again, he's far from ideal. Again, he said to Mr. Gorbachev, president of the Soviet Union at the time, is that the first business school in the Soviet Union will be either in Kiev or in my village, but it's not going to be in Moscow. And this is an idea that I really like and that I stand for. So this is a type of an idea that attracts people who are still teaching at MIM Business School. So, yeah, number two. And there's another person who I really admire and respect. He's a leader, true. He's not a political leader. He doesn't want it to be, despite of the fact that he was asked a number of times. Ukraine, I think, is number 2 in the world ratings for charities. And this is a person who I have an honor to work with, and who I see like every week. I hope to see him tomorrow. He's the chair of Come Back Alive Foundation, Mr. Taras Chmut. I know Taras quite well. He's modest, he's opinionated, speaking about ideas. He's very transparent. As for the charity, because that's probably an example of a charity where you can go on a website, click a couple of buttons, and see everything that was donated to this charity. If we think about the general image of Ukraine, which is quite far from being objective, that the money disappear here, this is how trust is done, by transparency and by responsibility. So this is my 3+1.
Thank you so much for these names. They really matters. Talking about Ukrainian nation peculiarities, I believe that sense of humor is one of our, superpower, which helps us even in the darkest times. And of course, our president, Mr. Zelensky, who you named among your top 4, he used to be a comedian guy. So my question is, what role does culture, irony, sense of humor, or even folklore play in how we build resilience and leadership here?
Good question. I was thinking about that a number of times. The humor normally is a psychological defense, and especially in countries who are not leading, their humor is just a way to, hide away from the danger and from horrors around them. We are still in danger because of war and because of a lot of things that are going on around us. And most probably our possibility, our chance to make fun of what is going on and still keep doing what we are doing, that is our second spine. If it's tough, we still do what we have to do, but we laugh a lot. We make fun of almost everything. Like even today, not always this is decent, I must say. Like today, there was a minor communication scandal. Yesterday, that was what, 28th of April 2025. Half of Europe was without the light. And the chairman of Ukrainian energy company said, well, we can borrow you our PDF charts with a schedule of, blackouts. Uh, Not always that's appropriate. However, this is what we do. And in comments, when people say like this is not appropriate, he said, well, we are not always appropriate because we make fun of almost everything. But that was respectful. That was not, hey, we will not give you help or whatever. Because if we can give help, we will give help. But yeah, we will make fun of it. So this is a part of our culture. Absolutely. This helps us still be, sober in the hard times and not lose our mind. It's so really easy. Um, Several cultures do not like to laugh about themselves. North American culture is one of them. They normally, I understand that I speak stereotypes, but normally Americans say that laughing about ourselves is stupid. Uh, Maybe we shall see at the very end who and where will it go. But yeah, we'll laugh about ourselves. Um, and that's only one part of our culture. Net centricity is another part of our culture. We do not go to the upper authority for resources and whatever. We just go to our neighbors and friends and family and say, give us something. We need to, we need to get our result done. And that's again our culture historically. Our um, leaders, official leaders, were more against Ukraine and Ukrainian culture than pro-Ukrainian. So that's again a defensive skill, I think.
What other skills should Ukrainian leader during the wartime have, apart from sense of humor?
Um, Normally, again, in the academic world, we speak about hard skills and soft skills like communication, organizational skill, etc. But there is one set of skills that we lacked and that we are developing as of right now. I think these are so-called conceptual skills, the art of seeing what was never there. I think that Ukraine becomes global and becomes very fast. Our national idea, jokingly, of course, was sounded out by one of the comedians, like, get off our backs. It was said in different words, but let's politely put it like this. Like, leave us alone and we will be fine, because everybody were trying to grab a piece of Ukraine for many, many hundred years. As of right now, what we see more and more and what we are talking is that, number one, nobody will leave us alone. Just let's put it clear, nobody. We are too big, we are too rich, we have too many people, we have a good educational system, we are a resourceful country. So no, nobody will leave such a tasty piece alone. Like, let's forget about it. Therefore, if we don't want to be reactive, we have to be proactive. So a lot of units and groups and think tanks are thinking, okay, what will Ukraine propose to the world? What will Kiev say? And we see that at the beginning of the war, 2022, Ukraine started going to Africa proactively. We never thought about this region, but hey, we are feeding half of the world, like, with the rest of the countries, of course. But that's our big market. So let's go there, not just wait for them to come here and bring us money. We are talking about active cooperation with East, Central Asia, which is really difficult. We are talking about the countries of the Gulf, of the Arabian Gulf. Again, that's Gulf of Arabia, sorry. Again, that's really difficult, but we are talking about, like, okay, we are not just a resource for you. Let's cooperate, let's set rules, let's have mutual respect, let's see what Ukraine can do. And I think that we can deliver our culture. We, we well, we don't have to prove to anyone, I hope, in these times, that Ukraine is not Russia. Like, done, okay. So we can say that Ukrainian culture is not a translated Russian culture in some funny way. No, we have our own unique culture, our own unique history, our own literature, our own physics, our own chemistry, our own cities. That's not only in a rural agrarian country somewhere. And even there, talk about a conflict a year ago with our lovely neighbors, Poland, and farmers who say Ukraine is so big and so agrarian that if we open our borders, it will smash us. Well, yeah, that's what big agrarian cooperatives and companies can do. That's what competition is. It has to be by the rules. It shouldn't be like black, but we should learn how to be global, respectful, and yet state what we want, not just receive what somebody else wants from us. And again, we see it at the negotiations between Ukraine and the United States. Who would say that Ukraine with the United States will lead in negotiations, will propose an agenda, not just say yes or no to an agenda forced upon us?
Very good point. Leadership is different, right? And my question is, does ethical leadership still exist? Or it's like kind of luxury in the wartime?
It is luxury. However, is it a luxury in the war times? No, because this is what people stand for, especially during the war times. We again can see this in the global level. Like if we're talking about what led us, Ukraine, have our position during the tension between Ukraine and the United States after the famous meeting in the Oval Office. Values, European values, because Ukraine said, we will still fight even if you don't support us, because we are a part of Europe, and that's what Europeans do and did for many, many years. And the old Europe and part of the new Europe, besides several countries, except several countries, they said, okay, you're one of us. So we will support you because of what you stand for. Not, well, if the United States don't support you, we will not support you. Goodbye, Ukraine. No. Uh, so probably the senses, the values, that's this philosophical part of leadership that moves us away from qui pro quo, from purely behavioristic concept that doesn't work really well with people. We are too difficult. We are too complicated for just simple yes or no, stick a carrot type of leadership. No, we strive for values. We understand the importance of signs and anthems and everything that goes around the, that goes in the heart of a country, for example.
Hmm. Leadership is always or very often accompanied with another word, especially popular now, resilience. So do you think resilience can be taught, or it's revealed only under like pressure or some risk time or crisis?
Well, I think everything can be taught, but taught by teaching, you deliver knowledge. You don't deliver skills. You don't deliver abilities. So if I know about a resilience, it just lets me develop it easier because I skip trial and error part and I say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. However, if I am taught resilience by lecturing, it's like I'm taught boxing by lecturing. Okay, I know about this here, but how to practice it? Um, Resilience is truly demonstrated by Ukrainian businesses for the last, I don't know how many years. Ukrainian military, Ukrainian civilians, we know how to come back after the pressure. But census, our previous issue, is that what shows where to come back after the pressure is gone. Because without the census, without the ideas, then okay, there was a pressure, you take it away, and where will Ukraine go? And that's directed by census ideas and values, I think.
I think resilience is, the second characteristic of Ukrainian nation, together with the sense of humor.
That's our, there's another side to resilience. One of the Ukrainian characteristics of Ukraine as a society to me is that, and that's a big danger, a big threat, which is, again, is discussed in many think tanks. Okay, imagine the heated part of war is over. the famous Ukrainian thing is to start arguing about everything. Well, we are not the only country who argues about everything, but there was an interesting study about probably 20 years ago between Eastern Europeans and Ukrainians, namely, and I think either West Europe or United States. And it was the question for the research was like this: uh, to what extent should you agree with your opponent to say, okay, let's go together somewhere? For the United States and Western Europe, that was like 30% will do, roughly. I don't remember the exact figures. For Ukraine and part of Eastern Europe, that was like closer to 90%, which puts us in a very tough condition. If I don't agree with you like almost completely, then I don't do business with you. But that's not possible in the common world. We are different. So I think right now, the back part of resilience is okay, the pressure is gone. Will we have enough? We will have momentum, but will we have enough congruence to go in one direction, or will we repeat the mistake of the past and just splatter again? I truly hope that now with this communication means and messengers and war and everything that put us together, so we say, okay, I might not agree with you 100% or 80%, 40% is enough for me. I have big hopes for that.
Great. Let's just make a small break and make our conversation less serious, but again, about
No problem.
leadership.
Of course.
Okay, I will read you a few popular ideas about leadership, some myths or cliche, and you tell me, is it myth or reality, and why do you think so?
Okay.
So, first one, leaders are born, not made.
No, don't agree completely.
Why?
I tested with a simple question that I regularly ask my students. Do you lead better today than you did 3 years ago? And like 90% of them say yes.
Okay, the second one, good leaders always have a clear plan.
No, they make up a clear plan after they win. They say, especially, pardon me, scientists do the same. They never have a clear plan of how to open something. This is revealed. They do the okay miracle, and then they say, okay, let's make a myth of how we came to this point.
Okay, great leaders should never show vulnerability.
Ah, yes and no. Um, if you don't, at some point, you will be broken because it's not about resilience. If you are not vulnerable, you are, God, I forgot this word. You can be torn to pieces, right? But I would say the answer is a controlled vulnerability. You should know to what extent you can be vulnerable, to what extent you can open up, and after which level of effect you should say, okay, I'm done, I leave, to keep the rest of what you have.
Okay, good. And last one.
Sure.
In a crisis, leadership is mostly about giving orders.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. But again, it's a very nice phrase. I've never seen it's done like this. If the only thing you can do is you give an order, then you'd better have a lot of people behind you. We don't have a lot of people behind us. So I would put it like this: in a crisis times, you should collect all the information available, and only after that you give an order.
Okay. And one small game again. Okay. Just now, yes or no questions, but just explain your answer shortly. Okay. 5 questions. First one: is leadership harder today than it was 10 years ago?
I think so. Yes.
Globally,
Yes. A lot of factors. Yes.
can someone be a good leader without formal authority?
Yes. Of course.
Is resilience more important than strategy in leadership today?
Very true. Yes.
especially in the Ukrainian context.
Oh, yeah.
Should leaders always listen to the majority?
No.
Last one. Is failure necessary for becoming a strong leader?
Yeah. A leader without a failure is a suicider.
Thank you for your reflections.
Of course.
Okay. Let's move forward to post war vision.
Mhm.
What kind of leaders will Ukraine need after the war? And are we preparing them now? What do you think, Alexander?
Uh, do we prepare leaders formally? Some organizations do, like business schools. We talk about leadership in the corporate world. Different academies do. Some leaders are born and self-taught during leading organizations at war, in the civil part, in the military part, in the academic part, in the non-governmental, non-commercial part. So a lot of leaders are just understanding how to lead by again, trial and error. There are some organizations like Aspen or whatever who are doing seminars where not only they lecture you, but they also let you try leadership, and you go through a set of exercises that just increases the speed and quality of you becoming a leader. So yeah, there are things. My friends from Ukrainian Catholic University, our competitors in the business world and our partners in the military world, they do leadership in mountains where people go and they again set them certain exercises for them to understand more about themselves. So yeah, what is necessary and what leaders have to be developed right now is a leaders with a global view. As we mentioned a little bit before, Ukraine cannot still be a country somewhere. We have to become a global player. Like, that's it. There is no other option. We have to understand that there are other cultures and we need to communicate to them. One of the arguable theses that I always teach and discuss is that when our borders are open, we will have a lot of people from other cultures. That's what always happens to countries where the level of income is higher than in countries that are more poor, like the so-called third world countries. We will have them here because we don't have our people for obvious reasons in the necessary amounts, and we don't know what to do with them. Military does. Military people know how to make partners with people who help us defend our country. So we have the capacity. We just have to distribute it and be prepared for it. And we have to develop our global vision in, like, okay, what role will Ukraine play in the global world? And that means something that the United States is trying not to do as of right now. We have to invest in the world so that the world will give us back. The United States had invested for 70 years. Yeah, 70 plus years after the World War II, because before the World War II, they were a big regional country. After the World War II, they became a global player, a player number one or number one and two, depending, right? Uh, and they started investing cultural centers, military bases, industries, export, global manufacturing. They were recipient of many production links. Ukraine has to do something like that. We don't have the economy as big as the United States, but right now the United States tries to save money by stop investing in the world. I hope that we will not do this mistake. Instead, we will have to open new embassies, add more staff, sponsor trade missions, invite people on our behalf. Like, remember, Ukraine normally says, we go to your country if you pay for us.
Yeah.
Now we should say, you come to our country, we pay for you. And yes, it means that we will eat a bit less because that's an investment. That's not a show. And investment requires a strategic vision for what Ukraine has to do. I truly hope that our current leaders become more Ukrainocentric, which means that they would want them and their children and their businesses to be rooted in our country, not as it used to be. I make money here so that my kids live elsewhere. I hope that these days are gone. Not completely, but I truly hope so.
That's really, really about leadership of Ukraine. Thank you for these points. I truly admire your vision. Hopefully, some top officials who will come after the war will take this on board. Hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Alexandra, is there a quality in Ukrainian leadership that emerged only because of the war and might disappear once the peace comes?
Well, you were talking about resilience. I would add another thing, the utmost creativity. Um, in the military world, you have to do something that makes big companies envious. You have to change your product daily, sometimes hourly. The drone war that we have right now, you have to modify the next drone because the first one was not effective. Uh, so we see the speed of developing something new because of the war so fast, so rapid, then I hope that this quality will stay with us, that we will not be relaxed and reluctant after this chase for survival is gone. I truly hope that we learn that and reflect on that, not only do that because we have to.
Exactly, you're right. Um, what, in your opinion, is the biggest leadership mistake you think Ukraine cannot afford to repeat?
Argue among themselves. There was a number of times, and we were on the edge of it several times. That I don't want to have anything to do with you, so goodbye. I will better work with my enemy than with a person who is my compatriot, but who will I not agree with. That's that's a big mistake. I understand that we should have borders and rules, and we should have some common ground. And Ukrainocentricity, I hope, is this ground. I want to develop this country. You want to live elsewhere? Go elsewhere, but just don't teach me how to live in my country. However, if I think about living in this country, respecting its culture, respecting its future, respecting it as an independent country, its languages, and so on and so forth, then let's talk. You have a different accent, maybe. You have a Vishivanka in a different colors, fine. You don't want to wear it except some holidays, fine. You want to live in a rural area, you want to live in a city, you think we should raise grain, no, you think we should develop a nuclear industry, fine. But you want to live in Ukraine, I want to live in Ukraine, let's do something together. So our big mistake is to argue and to say, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Instead, I think we should cooperate with people who we disagree with.
Yeah, I'm agree with you. Let's talk about emotional and social aspects of leadership. What does it mean to lead people who are grieving, angry, and exhausted,
Mhm.
and still need to move forward?
I will speak in vague words, but everything in psychology is in vague words. You have to be present, you have to be with these people. You cannot really lead people in grieving in under a threat from somewhere. You lose connection, you lose the speed of communication. With all the communication facilities, with all the messengers, with all the video teleconferencing, whatever, if you're not together with people, you cannot be their leader. Like, that's very clear. That's number one. So be there. Second is have some basic understanding of human psychology, at not on the level of a crisis psychologist. No need to be a psychologist for a people. No, but if you say if you hear, uh, it's tough for me, I cannot do it, uh, I'm done, I'm exhausted, I burned out, there's no need to say, I don't care, you have to do it. It doesn't work. Let people talk. Let people express their thoughts, because normally when they talk to you about their pain, it's not for you to do something. It's very often for them just to speak it out. Uh, Fortunately, human body is self-healing. We are quite foolproof. So if you don't do anything stupid, the human body normally will self-heal. Just be there. Academically, in psychological terms, that's called create a container of safety. Like, be there and ensure that the person has the chance to recover. That's quite simple, but if a person is tired and you say, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, you have to work 24/7, you just burn people to the ground and they say, okay, goodbye, thank you, I'm done. What good does it do?
um, my next question is about gender in leadership.
Mhm.
So, many of Ukraine's strong voices today are women's, but still women are underrepresented everywhere. Energy, politics, just wherever, parliament. Um, what does that tell us about the future of Ukrainian leadership culture?
Uh, I hope that Ukraine tradition, where a man has to say something that he heard from his wife before it, goes leads us somewhere. And Ukraine is not a country from nowhere. Like, we go through the same cultural transformations than the rest of the countries gone through. We don't have a religion that puts down women. Some religions do. They argue about that, but in factually, some religions and some forms of religions do. Majority of Ukrainians don't practice those religions, so that gives a chance to us. Um, During these times, a lot of Ukrainian men are at war and the country is living, which means that, again, that's a part of tradition, that Ukrainian women are doing twice as much for myself and for my husband. And thank you, those Ukrainian women who are fighting together with their husbands or with their brothers, with their loved ones, because it's really tough. I understand that. So I think that we're ahead of many countries, from the sense of the position and respect for women, and yet we have many more steps to do. You're factually right. If you take Ukrainian parliament, despite the fact that Ukrainian women take some leading positions in it, but it's not 50-50. And you cannot just say, okay, let's just hire 50% women, elect 50% of people's deputies. It doesn't work like that. It's not as simple. You have to empower. It's not equal rights and equal opportunities, which means that we, the country, have to do more for Ukrainian women to have a choice. And by choice, I mean not only factual choice. This, again, famous research when they say girls normally are not interested in sciences, physics, and mathematics. Like, yeah, if you are from the age of 0 here, that you have to play with dolls and he has to learn physics, then it takes away the choice from you. So I think that Ukrainian women will be in a situation where they have the choice to do whatever they want, and what they want will form the future of the country and women in it.
Do you think it's possible one day for Ukraine to be run by a leader woman president?
Yeah, I think so. We were close again, Mrs. Tymoshenko. She was a strong candidate. She was a prime minister. Uh, better or worse, she was among the good prime ministers. I understand, as many leaders we've said, they're not ideal, and I know all the cases and stuff. So yeah, I know that, but she was at the position, no problem. Um, I had an honor to be involved as a professor to the women leadership program of the Kiev City Hall. And I saw incredible ladies there, and I have deep respect for them. I think I was the only man who was allowed to teach in the female leadership program. And at first,
Such an honor.
it was an honor for me. True. It was so funny because we start and they say, "Oh, okay, that's Mr. Sudarkin. He will talk to you about leadership." And ladies are like, "Yeah, right.
Tell
Mhm.
us.
Tell us what can you, a man, tell us, ladies, about our leadership." At the very end, we were friends. We were laughing. We were having fun. We were discussing cases. Um, so it's not somewhere deep there. It's not about the gender, and yes, it's about the gender too.
Yeah, that really resonates, especially in Ukrainian context.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Alexander, do you believe Ukraine is already becoming a global leader, not only in defense but in values? And what kind of leadership can our country propose to the world?
Are we becoming? Yeah. How can I prove that? Because we fight for our values. For Ukraine and Ukrainians, values is not just words, as they are from many companies and countries. We actually live and die for these values. So it's pathetic, but it's true. So we at least we can teach that. I've heard uh, an interesting phrase recently. Um, my wife actually heard it, and she told it to me that during a meeting in an IT company. She's an IT lady. Um, her business partner from one of the Western countries. So you're a Ukrainian woman. You don't know the concept of impossible. She said, well, some things are still impossible, like death, but yet, generally speaking, yes. So what we can show to the world that yes, we stand for our values. Yes, we develop different approaches for our values, and we can teach to the world that we can be a global player by offering something else that's academically that's called an asymmetric answer. And we are proposing a lot of asymmetric answers to our opponents that are bigger and stronger than us, and to our partners that wanted resources from us, but now they want an expertise from us, which gives me hope.
Yeah, it really gives. How do you see the role of Ukrainian leaders across business, education, government in influencing global thinking and planning in post-war world?
Well, first of all, I need to thank you for doing this interview in English, because one of the things that we severely lack is the language issue in the global world. We have to be global, and that means that we have to speak the global language. Probably it's not Chinese, because for obvious reasons, and probably we still need to be put more emphasis in English studies, materials, websites, whatever. We have to be compatible with the world in order to be competitive in it. Then we need to again, in order to be compatible, we can show that Ukraine is a place to be. Even right now, if you look around Kiev, you will see a lot of foreign people. Despite of war, a lot of foreigners come to Ukraine. Some because of bravery. Yeah, I was there. There was, I was in the middle of the war. I understand that. Some because of the business. Not many people are ready to come here and see the sirens and air raid and everything. Some because they understand that this is a land of opportunity. And if you're the first one, you'll be the guy or the lady. So, but we have to slowly but surely get rid of the image that we had, that you get here and you have to start, schemes, kickbacks, corruption stuff. That's probably a leader number 5 that I would add to our list. It will be a general leader, not the name, is the Center for Corruption Counteract. A group of individuals who are doing journalistics, who are doing research, who are revealing corruption and fighting it. Guys, you're incredible. Because they show that it is not tolerated here, and they do it in Ukrainian, in English. They go to courts. They don't just say, no, it's bad. Here, look. They actually use legal measures to fight it, which is important, because I need to say that whatever anybody says, but our judges didn't run. Most of our judges during the war stayed in Ukraine. Who would say that this is happening? But yeah, they're here. It gives me hope.
That brings me perfectly to my final question to you.
Please.
In your view, how is Ukraine's image shaping internationally? Again, to what you have already said, just add, how aware are our leaders of their responsibility in shaping that perceptions? This question may seem tricky a little bit, but anyway.
The awareness of leaders, again, I think that this will be written in books as the myth that we knew what to do. No, we use opportunities. We go by trial and error. Yes, we understand it. I hope our political and military leaders understand where do we have to go. We have to be a global player, right? And that's a big picture. And that's our responsibility. If you have a chance to go one step to the global level, just do it. Participate in businesses around the world. It's tough, but still it is possible. Attract businesses from abroad. Teach military people from abroad. Send our military people abroad to teach our partners. Make cooperation, like look at the defense sector. Rheinmetall, as one of the companies, is opening like a couple of factories in Ukraine during the war times. Well, you think they know something about business? Yeah. Do they think they know that it is risky? Of course, but they understand that the payback for these investments and for this risk will be huge. So they are ready to take risk in order to be a global player on a higher level. And I truly hope that our leaders are ready to take their risks in order to be global players at a higher level than we are right now. And I, as a professor, teach them, help them, challenge them, and support them on this road.
Thank you so much, Oleksandr. It's been a real privilege to talk to you, to hear your perspective, and really lots of deep insights to take on board. Maybe some last message from you to the world about leadership?
Leadership is not given. It's taken. If nobody will tell you one day you are a leader, you just go and take responsibility. And then when you see that people come to you and ask you for an opinion or for a decision, then you understand that you are a leader. But in the middle of this thing, just remember that leadership is quite lonely. So you have to fill you with yourself in order to be a truly coherent and dedicated leader.
Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you. Dear friends, if you like this episode, please share, press like button, and subscribe to my channel. Stay curious, stay brave. See you next time.